Thank you all for clicking on the link and listening to what will hopefully be a very quick overview / refresher on the expectations of the Lewis and Clark expedition, which will be, as you can see on the screen here, Monday, February 23rd for the odd classes and Tuesday, February 24th for the even classes. The mission's pretty simple, and if you look at the handout that was given to you, the overview, it says you and your exploration group have been asked to explore the DCDS campus. You'll be given time in class to work on preparing for your expedition, which was last Friday, the all-block day, but your unknown surroundings will surely bring all sorts of unexpected twists and turns. Your ultimate goal is to collect enough data on video to put together an engaging and educational video journal that you'll be able to bring back to President Jefferson. Okay, maybe it won't be TJ, but it will definitely be one of his representatives. Remember that much time, money, and energy has been spent on gaining this new territory, and the President is looking for a favorable and thorough report. You will have mini missions along the way, so make sure that you take these seriously and are able to produce enough evidence that you will have completed these tasks in your video. Now there are of course going to be ground rules along the way that you'll be expected to follow, and of course these ground rules will be grounds for losing points on the project if you violate them. Number one is that you must travel as a group at all times. No wandering. It's dangerous out there. There are all sorts of wild animals and native tribes that you know little about, so stay within an arm's length of your group at all times. Now that doesn't mean that you have to hold hands with your group members, but we want to make sure that you are certainly traveling as a group. You must complete all 4 of your mini missions within the designated time. Be sure to plan ahead as to which route makes the most sense and always be mindful of the clock. The mini missions are meant to be captured on video and edited into your overall video journal. When you come to class on Monday and or Tuesday, you will find the locations of those mini missions, or at least the general vicinity in which you will find those mini missions. Number 3, it says you must interact peacefully with the native tribes that you encounter. The President is hoping to settle this land, so it is the utmost importance that the natives see the Americans in a positive light. Here's where your peace medals may come in very handy. And for those of you that are choosing to bring some sort of peace treat along the way, this is where that may actually help you have good relations with those natives. The 4th one and the final one, it just basically quite simply says, stay focused. Horseplay of any kind is not acceptable. Have fun, tell stories, but always be aware of the severity and importance of this task that you've been given. There are eyes everywhere around this new territory. Don't be seen doing anything except what you've been asked to do. Now, when we talk about the responsibilities of the day, there are essentially 4 roles that you'll be playing out, 4 roles that will be not necessarily graded individually, but you'll be expected to accomplish. 3 of them will be combined as a group responsibility. Those are the naturalists, botanists, and meteorologists. You'll be asked to observe and record animals along the route. You'll be asked to explore and record plant and tree life along the way. And you'll also be asked to observe and record temperature readings. Now, I've asked you to download apps that will be helpful with this, certainly the temperature one. The animals and the trees, you're kind of on your own on the expedition. I would ask that you record and collect those samples, not bring them back, but collect them on the video. And when you come back and we have our days where we're putting it all together, all our information together, you'll be expected to look up what kind of plant and or animals that you observed on the expedition. The 4th role here, the cartographer, is a little more individualized. The cartographer on the day of the expedition, the map maker, will be expected to go out and sketch a map of the expedition using arrows and drawing in different landmarks along the way in order to, when they return back from the expedition using those put it all together days, they will be asked to create from their sketch map a display map. The display map will be put on special paper, it will be enlarged, and that will be on display when you're actually giving your presentation. Which leads, I guess, to the final product. The due dates for the final product are listed up here, Monday, March 2nd for the odd classes and Tuesday, March 3rd for the even. You're basically going to be putting together a 5-minute video presentation to a presidential representative, which is either going to be your teacher and or one of the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade deans who have agreed to come up and, I guess, vote on who had the best presentation, who was able to present the DCDS campus in the most favorable way. The third thing on the list there is the physical map. The physical map is going to be that display map I just mentioned. It has to meet all the criteria provided. That's located on the handout that you received, which has been also put on the portal, and it's also going to be listed in a couple of seconds here, I should say. The final thing that you'll be doing on that day, on March 2nd or 3rd, is giving an oral defense of your findings. That oral defense will be answering a series of questions that you have been asked on the guideline sheet, things like what were the most significant findings and how will this land be valuable to our country. So you'll be asked to do 3 parts for this project on March 2nd or 3rd, a video, a physical map, and an oral defense of your findings. Okay, let's start with the video. There's obviously a lot of information up here. I'm not going to go through every last detail because you can read it, and I think that most of it is going to make sense. Essentially what we're asking you to do is to take your 60 minutes or so of raw footage and condense it. Now there are a couple of specific things that we're looking for. Within the first 60 seconds we'd like for your group photo, like a group photo of all of you in the same picture together, your name flashed up on the screen, the names of the members of the group on the screen, your motto, and some sort of focus in on your piece medal. We want to see what that piece medal looks like, yours specifically. We also want all 4 of the mini missions recorded and represented. Please make sure that the volume is of quality. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they do the mini missions and you can't hear them because either the wind's blowing, the camera's too far away, something along those lines. You really want to make sure that you are eliminating as many of those possible issues as you can. The QR codes, you are going to need a QR code reader, don't forget. You're going to be asked to scan QR codes. That's what those mini missions are going to be placed on. They will be scattered throughout the campus, and you'll be asked to respond to those QR code requests once you scan them. The grading of this is going to be based on basically effort and thoroughness. So what we're looking for you to do is to not just sort of rush through the mini missions, but to actually put some time and effort into it. There is no right or wrong answer per se, but we're looking to see as a group if you can collectively work on this particular mission that you've been given and you can complete it in a set amount of time. We also are looking for clear evidence of plants and trees. Obviously, those of you that have walked the DCDS campus know that we do have quite a few trees, bushes, plants, those kinds of things. What we're asking you to do is to video them, and then when we come back, you're going to be asked to label them. The same thing is going to be true of animals. And so what we don't want to do is we don't want you to come back and say, we didn't see any animals, we didn't see any trees. I've done this project for a long time. I've gone out there quite a few times in the coldest of cold days, and there's always animals out there. There just are. And so sometimes there's ways in which you can be quieter, I guess is the best way to put it, as you're walking through the woods or as you're walking through certain spots where there might be birds, like at a bird feeder or by a heat vent where they're trying to stay warm, where if you're quiet enough, the birds will be there or the squirrels will be there. And so as a result of that, what I'd ask you to do is to try to travel quietly in places where you're actually looking for animals, and please don't come back and say you did not see anything. The other parts there are going to be the native encounters and making sure that you exchange your piece medals, and then the miscellaneous editing. The idea of making sure that it's clean and nicely edited, that it's not just raw footage thrown together, that there's flow, beginning and end, smooth transitions, and of course the volume. The map. This is your cartographer's job once again as they look at the map here to make sure that their map is nice and neat. That's what the sketch map is going to be, as messy as you want it to be. The display map is going to be a little more time and effort put in. So you want to make sure that your group is represented on there, your name and logo. You could even have a picture of your group on there if you'd like. Compass rose giving me direction. It's drawn to scale. It's not going to be exact, I get that, but we want it as close to scale as possible so that the middle school isn't 3 times as big as the upper school or something like that. The directions that you travel on the expedition need to be labeled with arrows. I'll show you examples of that in class, but it just tells me where you started and where you stopped. The markings of starts and stops along the way, your QR code stops, the botany samples that you found that you're going to be basically recording and identifying in the video. I want to know where you found those on the campus. Temperature readings, one at the beginning and one at the end of the expedition. Naturalist sightings, the idea of the animals, where you found them and what they were. And group encounters with the natives. These can all be identified, and there should be some sort of key. I don't see it listed here, but there should be some sort of key at the bottom of your map as well, saying here's what a native encounter looks like. Maybe it's a star, and maybe it's a box for your naturalist sightings or whatever it might be, that you label that in your key and then you label it on your map. And then the last two parts here, one of them is about landmarks, which of course I'm looking for you to label things like the middle school, upper school, Cooper Gym, Field House. Those are going to be kind of like key spots on campus. But I want you to label them in some sort of some way in which we don't know that it's the middle school. What would you call it if this was or foreign land that you didn't know about? What would you refer to the middle school as? What would your group refer to it as? What would they refer to the field house as or the Cooper Gym? I want you to be creative in doing this, and I want you to think as Lewis and Clark might have, coming up with names to describe what they're seeing. Same thing's true of the field hockey field or 13-mile road. Again, be creative in how you come up with names for these roads, but please avoid things that we already know they're called. We know it's called 13-mile road, but what would you call it if you didn't know what it was called? And then finally, like I said, nature, trees, hill terrain. Try to give your map some sort of depth. All right, and finally, the oral defense. In class on March 2nd and 3rd, you're also going to be responding to those key questions that I mentioned earlier. We're going to give you a couple of real basic questions to think about, but we're also going to expect you guys to kind of think about what will work for you, what won't work for you, or what's going to help make your defense of, hey, this was a great expedition and what we found was really good. Remember, Thomas Jefferson was really looking for positive feedback from Lewis and Clark, mainly because he had just spent $15 million on land that he didn't know about. You guys didn't spend, or I didn't spend $15 million, fortunately, but you guys are still going out there and trying to report back to me what your findings are, why it was a good purchase on my part, and yeah, that's your oral defense. Now the final thing that's up here well, I should say it's not up here, but I want to mention is dress code. A reminder that for Monday and Tuesday, the casual days, the warm casual days only apply to you if you have class on that day. So if you have class on Monday, history class on Monday, then you can dress casual on Monday. If you have history class on Tuesday, you can dress casual on Tuesday. You don't get to dress casual for both days. I'll repeat that. You do not get to dress casual for both days. If you do, it is an infraction, so please be aware of that. Number two is that you want to dress warm. We are going to be outside for over an hour. You want to make sure that you have appropriate clothing. That means that you're dressing warm and that you're dressing smart, meaning that you're bringing boots, you're bringing hats, gloves, all of those things are going to be essential. If you just show up with a sweatshirt, that does not count as a jacket. We'll ask you either to stay inside or to borrow a jacket from a friend. So you really want to make sure that you are dressing appropriately. That's for your own good. That's not us trying to be mean. I also recommend bringing snow pants just to wear for the class. Bring a separate pair of boots and shoes so you can wear boots on the expedition, but you can change into your shoes for the rest of the day. There's nothing worse than walking around school with wet socks and wet shoes and wet pants and all that stuff. So please make sure that you are dressing appropriately. And the final thing is that if you are one of the students that has lost their dress code privileges, Miss Liberty has told me that essentially you will be able to dress casual for the expedition, but then you'll be asked to change back into your uniform following the end of the expedition. That is only for people who have lost dress code privileges. The rest of you can be in casual clothes for the entire day. So if you have any questions or concerns about any of these rules and regulations, please don't hesitate to email your teacher. We are trying to make sure that you come to class understanding it all, so that when we get to class, we're just taking attendance and then we're sending you on your way. When you come to class on Monday or Tuesday, when you come for the expedition, please make sure that you are bringing your jacket and all of the clothes that you want to wear and your peace medals. Make sure you have enough of those peace medals for everyone in your class, for every group in your class. That's really important as well. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this little refresher here. Again, if you have any questions, please email. Hope you all had a great break, and we will see you real soon.